The Entrepreneur Podcast starts now.
What is up? Welcome back to the Entrepreneur, podcast, we can call it, on stereo. It's kind of fun.
On steroids?
On stereo?
On stereo.
So,
yeah, this is a new app for us. Seems pretty interesting. So we're going to give it a try.
yeah, why not? We normally start off with a question of the day. Are you ready for a question of the day?
Oh, we're doing a question of the day? Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, see, I would ask you this one. I'm going to ask you this one, but this is a joke because you and I both know the answer to this. Would you rather find true love or find $10 million? $10
million.
Oh, yeah, right. You know the answer is find true love because you already found it.
Well, I already found true love, so I don't need to find it again. So that's why I'm choosing $10 million.
Oh, see, you're too good at these. Ooh, this one kind of goes with our title. Our title is Like a Boss.
Like a boss.
So would you rather, Josiah, would you rather be the boss or have a great boss?
I think be the boss.
Why?
You know, there's pros and cons, and being the boss isn't for everyone. It's not easy. You got to be self-motivated. You got to be able to look at yourself and introspectively see when you're doing things not in a good way for the business or for yourself. There's no system to keep you in check. So it's easier to have a good boss, to clock in from 9 to 5 and do what the boss says, do what the boss directs you to do, and have a good relationship with the boss. That's easier. And then you can clock out at 5 and go about your life and not have to worry about any of that other stuff. But if you are the boss, there's an added level of responsibility. And in my experience, and I think for many others, when you are a boss, it's hard to keep the job as just a 9 to 5. Even if you are clocking in and clocking out, it's going to be on your mind because you have that higher level of responsibility. So even when you're not at the job, if you do have a level of care for the job and for your team members, it's going to be hard to keep that off your mind. So that's a downside, and especially as a business owner. As a business owner, there's an even increased level of responsibility and perhaps stress and whatever else might come along with that. But I personally think there's more benefits to being your own boss. The pros outweigh the cons, as they say, right?
Right.
What do you think?
If I had to choose between the two, whether I would rather be the boss or have a great boss, I'd probably go with what you said, be the boss. Not because I want to dictate people around, but I don't know. I think that's just how my head works. I just like to help lead or influence people in a good way. I mean, hence these questions, right? Would you rather help people think outside the box? Do something different. Do something crazy. Yeah, well, I always like your answers. They're always entertaining to me. I think this one was more serious, but still really good.
Super serious.
Yeah. So for us, this would be episode 12, going back to like our quote unquote regular programming. In the month of January, we had our finance series, which had 8 episodes. So this is now episode 12 of our not finance series, but just our regular programming every Wednesday. We thought we'd try it live on stereo. So why did you choose Like a Boss?
Like a Boss. Why did I choose that? Because it's a sick title.
It is a sick title.
Because I'm the boss.
Because you're the boss. Oh, goodness.
You had a couple different topics you wanted to hit on that I think all culminate with what I just talked about in answering that question. If you're not the boss and you have someone else to answer to, they, in a way, will set these things up for you, these things that we're about to talk about. And you don't have to worry about them or implement them as much in your personal life or your work life. But if you are the boss, like a boss, you have to do these things yourself. There's no one above you in the hierarchy to force you to do these things or to tell you how to do these things. You need a higher level of personal responsibility, which is tough. And that's something that we, I think, are navigating through now as entrepreneurs. Right. And as we haven't had a corporate or 9-to-5 or any type of job like that for about 4 or 5 months now. So we're still setting some of these up and finding out what works best for us. But there are things that we've recognized even from this early start that are really important if you want to be a boss, if you want to have your own business, if you want to be self-employed. That's why I picked that title.
I like it. And you know what I realized? I realized we haven't introduced ourselves in a while, so maybe we should just go ahead and do that, especially because of what you just explained, which people might be like, what? What are they talking about?
What?
Do you want to go first?
Okay. So I'm the bacon bagel.
You are the bacon bagel.
I'm the boss. We are entrepreneurs in Alaska. I recently finished up a contract with the U.S. Army and decided we were ready for something different, not to continue my career with the military. And between looking at all the different things we could do, realized some of the things we didn't like about the military environment as a career were going to be largely the same in the corporate world. And it wasn't going to be, it likely wasn't going to really be that much better in the ways that we didn't enjoy some of the military lifestyle. So with that, we decided, hey, why don't we become the boss? And we label ourselves as entrepreneurs because we've had lots of different business ideas, and we've gone through four,
yeah, three, four,
yeah, three or four actual businesses in the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 years as we've been beginning this journey and exploring. Some of them haven't worked out well. Some of them did work really well, but we decided, let's move on to something else now. So right now, our main business that we focus on is online sales, e-commerce, primarily through Amazon, eBay, and other different platforms. But Amazon is a really, really powerful platform for selling all sorts of different things: books, toys, groceries, whatever it might be. Finding items at a low price and bringing them to a market where there's a higher demand. So that's what we do right now as entrepreneurs in Alaska. And in our free time, we have been documenting that journey and sharing some of the things that we've learned along the way through our podcast. So you can find us on YouTube. Most all of the major podcast platforms, I believe we're on there now. Apple, Google. What are the other ones, Kelly?
Spotify, Stereo, I think Deezer, Pandora.
Anyway,
Basically
so
all of them.
yeah. We've been releasing something more or less every week. We finished up what we think was a really exciting finance series in January. It was a lot of fun for us. I think we shared a lot of really cool information about what has helped us in our financial journey, from budgeting, getting out of debt, and planning and investing for the future financially. So that's a really long introduction. And here we are on studio today, giving this a try. So
yeah, why not?
shakalaka.
Shakalaka.
I don't know what that means.
Did you already explain that we're in Alaska? Maybe you did, and I missed it.
Yeah.
Well, whoops. Anyway, we're in Alaska, so that's fun. And we decided to stay even after you got out of the military, which was also exciting. I think we should just jump in to what we're going to talk about. So, I'll start it off. So, routines. If you can imagine a boss and how they set routines, or any person, you don't have to be a boss to set a routine. So that's what we want to talk about today, and how routines and then goals and how to set goals and how they cycle together, how they relate. And you can't really be without routines when you set goals, and you can't have routines without a set goal in mind, and vice versa. Anyways, routines. So why should we set routines? Well, first, some of them prepare your mind and body for a certain activity. And we'll go into examples of those, but it really can help you focus on, like, okay, if you do a routine before whatever activity, you can be like, your body can prepare and be ready for said thing, and really focus on that and start to have a mindset change right before you accomplish whatever task. Routines can also help you accomplish things without extra added effort. So this one kind of happens after you've already set the routine, and after you've kind of been in the routine for a while, but it can really help you kind of be a robot, I guess, and like accomplish something without even realizing it. Like, I'm sure people have already done this before when you've been driving for a long time, maybe not hours wise, but just like years wise, you've been driving a long time. You can sometimes fall into a routine of, okay, this is the way home. Okay, this is my way to work. And you don't really have to think about it. That's the kind of mindset you're going for with a routine. Routines also can help you practice something that can make you better at whatever task it may be. So if you set a routine, and this relates to goals, right? If you set a routine in place to do said task or activity, it can ultimately help you become so much better at that activity that you, like what I just said before, can help you accomplish something without any added extra effort. So if you're not really good at something, you need to set a routine to help you accomplish that goal. And then you can at some point be like, oh yeah, that was really easy. Whatever this activity that normally used to be really hard now is like really easy because I have a routine, and it makes it so much better to accomplish that consistently. A couple examples for routines. Josiah, I'm sure you and I can agree that we're not the best at what I'm about to say, but it does help to be in a routine when it comes to morning routines versus bedtime routines. So these aren't obviously the only options, but typically when you have a morning routine, it's way different than your bedtime routine. And it should be, right? Like, because you're preparing your mind and body to either wake up and get ready for the day or go to bed and rest.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, do you think that there is anything different? Because I said morning routines and bedtime routines, how they can obviously be different. Do you think that having a difference has helped you or us, I guess, in preparing for whatever said activity, like morning routine versus bedtime?
Yeah. So I think part of it is having a somewhat structured routine for those daily tasks that are really menial and shouldn't require a lot of thought. You wake up, you make your bed, you brush your teeth, you put your shoes on. I probably missed a few things.
Right?
But having that routine removes a certain amount of decisions that you otherwise would have to make.
Yeah.
And I've been reading a book by Tim Ferriss, which has been really interesting. Tools of Titans. He interviews a lot of world class and the title says billionaires, icons, and world class performers. He interviews them and asks different pointed questions to figure out what routines and what habits they have used that may have helped them get to where they are in a worldly successful way. And I can't remember. I'm maybe like a third of the way through the book, but at some point, someone mentioned the concept, which I think makes a lot of sense, is your mind and your mental energy only has the capacity to make a certain number of decisions every day. And after that, you're kind of overtaxing your mind, and your decision-making abilities and the quality of your decisions are going to go down. So if first thing in the morning, you're spending a lot of time deciding what to wear, if you should brush your teeth before getting dressed or whatever it might be, you are potentially, and I think this is probably the case, you're using up some of your mental capacity on something really menial. So if you have a set routine for those basic daily tasks, wake up, do these 5 things in a row, you won't even have to think about it, and you won't be focusing your mental capacity on something that's, in the scheme of things, not that important to your business, your other daily tasks, whatever it might be.
Right. Yeah. That's really helpful, especially when it comes to like both a morning routine or a bedtime routine. I know for sure, like if what you just said, like if you're making too many decisions in the morning on stuff that should be quote unquote simple, like, okay, what to wear, should I brush my teeth before or after this, after I eat breakfast or before, or whatever, like that normal, natural, like cycle that you put yourself in, yeah, you can start to like frazzle yourself for the rest of the day of like, okay, you constantly have to make decisions. And then by the time it's bedtime, if you're still having to make decisions on your bedtime routine, typically I know for me, if I don't have a consistent setup before bed, my mind just like races while I just lay there and like can't fall asleep. So if you're constantly making decisions and then you're like replaying the day, and yeah, if you have a routine, your mind and body, I feel personally, start to like relax, and then you can start accomplishing more things during the day.
Exactly.
What about now? This morning and bedtime routine kind of goes along with this, but this I think is way different. The morning and bedtime routine is more like physical things, like you're putting on clothes or changing clothes, or like what you said, brushing your teeth, whatnot. But getting ready for work and then versus decompressing after work, those routines are also very different and don't always coincide, and probably shouldn't coincide with your morning routine and your bedtime routine. How would you view that? I know, especially for you, like while you were in the military, you had to like drive. So that also helped. You would mentally start preparing or decompressing on your drive. But how do you think, like, can you explain the change from that, like driving aspect versus now that you're working from home?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. So yeah, one of the nice things about the military is it created a lot of those routines for me. There was no what am I going to wear today. It was almost
Right.
always the same. It was almost always the same thing every day, and with the uniform. And if something was going to be different with it, someone would have told me. There's always a boss above you.
Right.
Uh, so that was nice. And yeah, over the years of that, I discovered different ways to kind of prepare myself mentally or to decompress myself mentally at the end of the day. And having a bit of a commute, it was 10 to 15-minute drive, not too far, but that was nice to mentally prepare myself and mentally disengage. In the morning, I could kind of mentally go through my to-do list. Okay, these are the 5 things I really got to do today. When I get into the office, this is the first thing I'm doing. And it helps me mentally prepare and get into the mindset of let's hit it, let's do this so I can get home before 9 p.m. And I thought that was really beneficial. Otherwise, I would have showed up into my office with 10 people asking me questions while I was trying to figure out what day is it today? What do I have to do?
Right.
Is such and such a report due today, et cetera, et cetera. I already had that in my mind before I got bombarded by other people. And then at the end of the day, it can be it was a stressful job many days. And so having 10 to 15 minutes of just silence or music to decompress, think about some of those things that happened throughout the day. Maybe I didn't get to all the things on my to-do list. Making a mental note, okay, got to do that first thing tomorrow. Hopefully that'll happen again. And disengaging my brain, using that 10 minutes to finish thinking about all the work-related stuff and shut it off before I got home to then spend the evening with my family or on different activities not work-related.
Right.
Now, that's something that I've noticed over the past couple months that is way different and I would say challenging. Not having a commute adds a very different element into that when you're working from home. And this is probably the case for a lot of people, regardless of if they're self-employed or something like that, with remote jobs being
Right.
more and more common throughout 2020 and into 2021. And that can be a challenge. And I've had some interesting conversations with lots of friends and other people about how they manage that instead of going to an office where when they walk in the door, their mindset is do work, they're now sitting at home and they never leave the house all day. Their commute is, if they have it, down the hall or down the stairs to a separate office space. Many people don't have that. It's maybe to the living room to sit on the couch, or maybe to the corner of their bedroom, to the little desk there. And that opens up a lot of different challenges with added distractions, and being able to set your mind up into work mode and to decompress from work mode. And that's definitely something that I've noticed over the past year or so, especially now as self-employed entrepreneur. We have the luxury of a office space in our house, and it's in a part of the house that's somewhat separate from the rest of the house. So
yes, yeah.
And I don't do a great job of it, but I do enjoy that it's in a separate spot. I can walk down the stairs, down the hall to that space, close the door, and be away from some of the distractions and get into work mode. And that room is primarily just a work room, a work office.
Right.
So that helps. But there's definitely always, there's pros and cons to being able to take my laptop and go sit on the couch and watch TV with the family while I'm doing some work. That is nice, but it can also be distracting, and it can be much easier to be in work mindset 24/7, because where is work? Well, it's this little laptop, or it's on my phone. I can do it anywhere at any time. So I think it's especially important to have routines when you work at home, or you're an entrepreneur, or you're self-employed. And that's something that we're continuing to discover and implement for ourselves. Because every day is a little bit different as a business owner, at least for us. But we do have some daily tasks that happen almost every day, or a couple times a week. And so implementing those and really having a to-do checklist is big. Keep you on track.
Right. Do you think mentally, so you kind of touched on it. I just wanted to kind of clarify. You said, like, with the military, so that like 15-minute drive, like that's when you would focus on like mentally preparing for getting ready for work or decompressing after work. But when do you now think you naturally do that? Is it like more like over a cup of coffee, breakfast, before you, like, because obviously it's not even like a 10-minute walk to your office. So like what rough time do you normally naturally do that? Or is there not really a time now?
For mentally preparing myself and stuff.
Or decompressing, yeah.
Yeah, that's not something I do well, and something I'm still trying to discover. But I think trying to keep the work and work tasks, or at least the majority of them, in that office space does help with that. And so when I enter that office in the morning, first thing I try to do is think through, these are the things I need to do today, make a checklist.
Right.
And I guess in a way that's my replacement for that commute that I used to have.
So you think you like naturally do that the like first like 10 minutes or so when you get into your office, and then maybe the last 5 or 10 minutes when you're about to like finish up?
Yeah,
I think that's
so.
Right now what you naturally do?
I think so. Definitely not every day. It's something I struggle with, because it's easy to always be in work mindset 24/7. But that's not super healthy. You're going to burn yourself out at some point.
Right.
So, yeah.
Interesting. It's just an interesting thought because, I never thought from me previously working when we got up here for about a year and then being stay at home and then obviously now stay at home mom. I have never really personally thought through me mentally getting ready. Like because I did the same thing you did, which was on the drive over or drive back, it was like preparing or decompressing after. So, yeah, I haven't really thought about how I even do that. Like preparing for the day and like, okay, these are the things I need to get accomplished, which is bad. I think I naturally do it, especially like sometimes laying in bed, like during my bedtime quote unquote routine, which I don't want it to be in there. I think I naturally decompress from the day, like as I'm laying in bed, which all it does is make my mind race. So I think it is, I don't know, a personal goal to like, now that I'm thinking about it, become better about setting a routine of even just setting aside 5 minutes to like mentally prepare for the day or decompress from the day, whether that's like just by myself or with you. Like, okay, I need to like mentally do that because I don't think I do that well right now. Just an interesting thought.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's going to be a continued struggle for many people as working at home becomes more common, or has been more common.
Or naturally, like what you had just said, which was, I mean, we see it all the time on like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all the platforms. People put out these ads that say like, you can work from your phone, you can work from your laptop, like work from home. And like, I think people have a very like fairy tale mindset of like what that looks like. When in actuality, like it's still work. It's still a mental struggle on you. Not that it's like, oh my gosh, it's compared to like a construction worker, like in the amount of like physical labor. Sure, there's no physical labor when you're working from your phone or from your laptop, but there's still something there that can still be hard in work, if that makes any sense at all. Like it's not just some fairy tale, oh, you click a couple buttons and oh look, I made like several grand this month. Like it's not that easy.
Yeah.
Okay. What about setting up routines for accomplishing mundane or mindless tasks versus like heady, concentrated, like concentration, like you have to take a lot of concentration on your mind tasks? What do you think about those like sort of routines? I know for me personally, like mundane stuff would even just be like some simple house tasks or like even just driving around. Like I think you do this, but I won't talk for you. Anyways, like when I'm like doing the dishes or something else, even if it's like takes me 5-10 minutes, sometimes I'll play some music or listen to a podcast or something along those lines while I accomplish that like mundane, mindless thing. So I can still engage my mind a little, and it kind of helps me like forget about the annoying task I might be doing.
Yeah, that's a great method. Another one is setting time limits for yourself. And what I mean by that is almost like challenging yourself to do it as quickly as possible. So you have what could be a 10-minute task of washing a bunch of pots. And yeah, it'll take you 10 minutes if you're just like, oh, I hate washing the pots. This is the worst. And your mind is wandering.
You're
doing it slow. Or what you can do, give this a try. Be like, okay, it normally takes me 10 minutes to do this. I'm going to set a timer and I'm going to do it in 5 minutes. And
Yes.
then you're racing yourself, and you're making yourself more focused and more committed to finishing quickly. So then you can get on to the next thing, whatever that is, whether it's more exciting or another mundane task. But yeah, I think that's a great method. You set yourself a timer, blast some music, or yeah, like you said, listen to a podcast or something. But yeah, I think give that a try.
Yeah. And I think that kind of routine is like, for me personally, way different than what I do when I have like a heady or concentrated task. Uh, like, for example, studying. When studying something, I have always done, like, if I'm in a textbook or studying something hard or like really reading through something, I have always played instrumental music. Now, it doesn't have to be whatchamacallit. Oh, what kind of music am I thinking of?
Rock and roll.
Instrumental rock and roll. No. What's the one they always say to like play for babies or whatever in the womb?
Like Mozart and stuff?
Yeah, like
Classical?
Mozart and stuff. Classical. Thank you. That's the word. Oh my goodness. Like I wouldn't always listen to classical. It was always more like I don't know, more like pop-ish, I guess. I don't know. Maybe actually sometimes rock. I think I've actually listened to a couple instrumental rock music songs. Kind of fun. But they were always like kind of upbeat, and so it kind of like versus if I was listening like Mozart or something, I think I'd just fall asleep while reading the like heady task I was trying to do. So for me personally, that would always help. But sometimes can't always be focusing on music while you do something. Like even like let's say you're trying to listen to something, listen to your teacher talk, or listen to an instructional video. You can't play music over while you're listening to that. I mean, I guess you could, but I don't know if that's going to be helpful. I know for me, setting myself into kind of like what you talked about with your getting ready for work thing, or being at work, like having a separate space, like going to my desk, sitting in that chair. If I'm doing something heady, I can't sit or lay on the couch. Like that just makes me want to fall asleep. So I have to like be sitting or standing somewhere and like focused on that. Maybe put some headphones in if I need to like listen to music, like I said, or listen to like the instructor, whoever it is. That's always helped me. Have you thought about that before?
Yeah, I think it depends on the task that you're doing, and every person is going to be a little different. So I think I gather from what you're saying, for you, that instrumental music had a calming, soothing effect, maybe blocked out some other sounds in the room that could have been distracting, kind of a calming background noise that helped you focus and engage your mind on that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think that's great. It's probably going to be different for everybody. For some people, it might be heavy metal is what they're
right. That could be.
They're used to, and that helps them focus on that task and keep from being distracted. That wouldn't work for me. That would probably distract me more than help. So yeah, there's different things you can do with that to help you focus, help you not get distracted by what's going on around you. And I think the biggest one for me is the location I'm at. I remember back in school, a lot of people like to go to the library or places like that to study. And I couldn't do that. That was too distracting for me. I would end up people watching.
Yeah,
there were.
It is kind of fun to people watch at the library.
Yeah, I think part of the problem for me was a lot of people went to the library to hang out, or maybe they were doing more group kind of projects, and that was distracting. There was talking and moving around, and I'm easily distracted in that way. So I couldn't study there. I had to go to a different location. So you got to know what works for you.
Right.
Whether it's tweaking
like
the type of
personally,
background noise or the location you're in. Yeah.
yeah, like personally, I could never go to a like coffee shop to like work. I don't know.
Oh
That just
yeah,
doesn't
definitely
seem
not.
like. I mean, I guess if it's something that, like, I guess you're like waiting for something to like download or process or something while you're doing it. I don't know. But I don't think I could ever work at a coffee shop. That's just not how my mind works. Because I do exactly what you just said, which is people watch. Like I just like love watching people. It's just interesting to me. That sounds creepy, but
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah, you weirdo. A coffee shop, lots of people are coming and going, and distracting sounds, distracting noises, distracting movements. I'm not. It doesn't work for me either.
Yeah, so maybe that's why we also avoided going back to work in like an office setting because I think that's just too distracting for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we needed
I
our
had
own space.
I had the luxury actually all of my time in the military. I had an office mostly to myself, shared it with a couple other people at one point, and when I finished out I had my own private office, and people walking up and down the hall, so distracting, and many of them would stop and talk to me, et cetera, et cetera. So it was really beneficial to be able to close the door, lock
Yeah.
it, cover the window so that people thought I wasn't there, and so that I couldn't get distracted by looking out the window too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I realized after a while I was getting 50% of my work done from 8 to 5, and then the other 50% of my work from 5 to 5:45 because everybody else left at 5, and I could actually be undistracted and focus on what
That's
was going
awesome.
on, and I could get it done so much quicker.
That's funny. But probably really true. I'm sure I would probably do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So I guess moving on a little bit, I guess you're probably, if you're listening, might be wondering, how do I implement a routine? Well, that comes with goals. So setting goals can help you obviously set a routine. But that's why we pair these together, because typically a routine, if you're just like, I'll just set any routine, like if you're just going to go around just setting any routine, it's not going to help you. But typically it's based off of a goal. Like I want to go to bed easier, or I want to start decompressing from work better. So like those sorts of goals can help you set a routine to accomplish the goal. So how, Josiah, would you recommend setting a goal to potentially help a routine, or setting a goal and then setting up a routine? How would you start?
Setting goals. Yeah, that's a great question. I've gone through many different leadership trainings throughout my life, and almost all of them have used this same acronym setting.
Acronym, is that what you said?
Yeah, acronym.
It cut out for a sec.
Oh, acronym.
Acronym? Yeah. Acronym? Got it.
Akron, Ohio. And so when you're setting goals for any aspect of life, business, personal, workout plan, Make sure your goals are SMART. Boom, right there, done. No, that's the acronym. SMART. And what that is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. Some of those are self-explanatory.
Whoa.
You got it?
Yeah,
and it's that easy.
It.
Next slide. No, I'll walk through it real quick. So your goals, they need to be specific. If you have a goal that's too broad or too general, you're not going to be able to know whether or not you've attained it. You need it to have specifics, a number, a quantity, something along those lines. And that, I think that kind of leads into the M, which is measurable. It needs to be measurable in a way that you can quantify whether or not you attained that goal, whether or not you've met the criteria. And that's actually the next. The A is attainable. We can all sit here and create goals that are really noble goals, but not realistic, not attainable. I am going to set the goal of climbing Mount Everest in the next 6 months. Is climbing Mount Everest for me attainable? It certainly could be if that's something I wanted to do. But in the next 6 months, is that attainable? Probably not. The amount of research, training, just getting over there probably will take more than 6 months. I don't know. I haven't done any research on it. That's something I would need to read on and maybe ask others that have done it to find out what there is realistic and attainable. And then the R is relevant. Relevant being something that makes sense toward what you're working towards. It needs to relate to where you are in life and the other things going on. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, and then the T there, the final one, time-based. I think that's the most important. You got to set a deadline for yourself. If I have a goal of getting a pilot's license. Cool. Good luck. You need it's the likelihood of it happening when you create the goal that way is really low. For one, I have a goal of getting a pilot's license. Okay. Pilot's license in what? How am I going to do it? How long does that take? I need a time deadline for myself, and that time deadline needs to be attainable and relevant to how long it usually takes to get a pilot's license. I can't go, my goal is to get a pilot's license next week. Well, that's not going to work for me. I've never flown a plane, nor have I ever thought about flying a plane, nor have I ever done research into it. But I don't know. What's normal? If I do 2 training sessions a month, it'll take me 2 years. Okay, now we have a time-based goal. I'll get a small aircraft pilot's license within 2 years by the end of 2023.
Okay, yeah.
And no, I'm not actually going to do that. I don't really have a desire to have a pilot's license.
Right, but you set not only a time frame, but you made it an attainable time frame, not like, okay, I'm going to get it in 6 months when that's actually impossible. They won't, like, the state requirements won't even allow you to do that or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. So again, that's specific. You state what you're going to do using action words. Measurable, provide a way to evaluate it using different metrics or data points. Achievable, it's within your scope. It's something that's possible for you to accomplish, not outlandish. I will learn how to fly. Well, I don't have wings. That's not achievable. And relevant, it makes sense within your job function, and it can improve whatever it is you're trying to work on, whether it's your business, whether it's your personal health, your fitness, whether it's your whatever, your personal hobby, your other interests and hobbies. And then time bound, there's a specific measurable, a date or a time frame in which it's going to be completed. And I think that is huge when it comes to goals. And then once you have that big overarching goal set up, you can start breaking it down. Take the pilot's license one, for example, again. I would imagine there's stepping stones along the way. First, I know you have to get in some way medically cleared in order to do that. You have to have a physical examination with a doctor. And then there's maybe you got to go get like a learner's permit or something along those lines. So you can start jotting down, these are the stepping stones. These are the major 6 tasks within that goal that have to happen in order for the goal to be complete.
Yes. Yeah.
And then break those tasks down into subtasks, and you can keep going at that forever, but don't get too caught in the weeds. But that's
like for example, I think well, before I start the examples, I should take back. I think what you're getting at is you should like set your goal using the SMART acronym, but start small and then grow from there. So you said like use the SMART acronym. Okay, so I'm going to get a pilot's license in 2 years. Okay, so then you broke it down, those major milestone goals in between, which was like, all those bigger milestones that happen between you getting your license and now. But then those subtasks. So start small. So you have to start somewhere, and you can't you just go to a plane and you write it on a piece of paper that you can fly. Well, that's how you die, because you don't know how to actually fly an airplane. So how do you start? Start small and then grow from there. This is huge when you're starting your routines. You're accomplished your goals. To be able to accomplish something like that, you have to have some sort of routine there in the background, or set aside for studying for your pilot's license, that sort of thing, to accomplish that ultimate goal. But you got to start small. So you can't go, now some people can, I shouldn't say you can't, but some people can go from let's say they have an exercise goal of I want to lose X amount of pounds, or I want to just at least exercise daily. Some people don't think like that. Some people can't actually attain the exercising every day, or the 3 hours every day, or something maybe in their mind might be excessive. So I think that's what I mean when I say start small. If you're gonna if your goal is to do more exercise or to read more or something like that, start by implementing something small and simple, 15 minutes of exercise every day, or 3 hours worth of exercise during the week, which is I don't know, you decide, maybe 3 days a week you do 1 hour worth of exercise, or you decide, okay, I'm going to do half an hour for 6 days, or whatever it is. So I think starting small can also really help people versus when you go into dieting and that sort of idea, a lot of people will go really hard, really fast. And so they oh, well, I'm just going to completely cut out carbs, which is totally fine. I'm not against necessarily that. But sometimes, though, you get so stuck into that routine of taking out carbs that eventually months from now, or maybe even years from now, when you decided to start adding them back in, you might go into reset mode and not have a good routine in that regard. So maybe for you, I know I'm personally like this. I'm not a very good at like hardcore, harsh, like routines of like, okay, if my goal is to cut out more sugar, that I'm just gonna have zero sugar for the next like ever. Like, oh, I know my body doesn't work like that, and me mentally, I don't work like that. So starting small of like, okay, I'm gonna cut out like half of my sugar intake or whatever it is. I don't know, something along those lines. I think you hit it right on the money though with the SMART acronym for setting a goal, but then you got to start small in accomplishing it. What would you say to someone who's looking to, I'll give an example. What would you say, Josiah, to somebody who's looking to start cooking more regularly, or they don't really cook at all, or they don't know how to cook, or I should say, well, you should know this by experience because your wife was kind of like this when we got married. What would you say to someone? How would you help them accomplish that goal of cooking more often or being a better cook and that sort of thing? Like, what routines or little milestones would you tell somebody to accomplish?
Good question. Well, you got to start with, what does that mean? You have a desire to cook more often, regularly. You put a number to that. It needs to be measurable so that you can know when you've met that goal. For some people, cooking more often might be cooking every day of the week, at least once. For some people, that might be just cooking 3 times a week. So you got to make that measurable so that you know when you've met that success.
Sure, but what if it's the like ultimate goal of like, what if it's just like, okay, I'm not even a good cook. Okay, think back to when we got married. Not a very good cook. And so, yeah, my goal is to like be cooking every day, multiple times a day actually. But I don't even have the skills to do that. Like I could do that right now, but you're going to be eating everything burnt or not tasting great. Uh, would you recommend like, yes, put a number in an attainment goal, which was now, right? I cook multiple times a day. But how would you start from there? Like, where would you start at the very, very beginning?
Yeah, so I think one thing you have to recognize is when you're starting something that's in a way new to you, you got to recognize that you're not going to be a pro right out the gate. And so if you're learning how to cook, yeah, there's a
But I
good
watched
chance.
like at least a million videos, honey. I'm a pro.
Yeah, well, there's a good chance you're probably going to mess it up the first at least few times. And then step 2, like we talked about before, remove the difficulty of the decision making. Find a cookbook, just one cookbook, and pick out 10 recipes from it, or find one YouTube channel and save 10 recipes from it. And then you've set up the next 10 recipes that you're going to attempt to cook. Go to the grocery store, get all those ingredients all at once, and go, okay, on Tuesday I'm doing this one, Wednesday this one, Thursday this one, etc. And then when it comes Tuesday, you don't have the age-old difficulty that so many of us have is, oh, it's dinner time. What do you want to eat? I don't know what I want to eat.
Yes.
My goal is to cook more, but I'm starving, and I now have to expend all this mental energy finding a recipe, thinking about what to eat. Oh, wait, we don't have the ingredients. So if you set those things up beforehand, remove a lot of that decision making when it comes game time, you're going to be a lot better off and less stressed in this new learning environment. And I would think probably achieve a more desirable outcome as far as the meal. Maybe it won't be burned because you set yourself up
Right. Yeah, I know setting up those, like, what you exactly said, setting up those small routines of like going ahead and already picking out the recipes that you're going to make like those 10 meals from, whether that be over at least 2 meals a day for 5 days, or maybe 10 days worth of dinners, whatever it is. Setting up those routines of like, I'm just going to go ahead and get the ingredients. Okay, so there's excuse one, like you already have the ingredients ready to make it. Step two being set yourself up with a routine of time. Like, don't wait until you're hungry to start cooking. Like, if you already know your rough dinner time routine, which is you eat between 5 and 6, or maybe you're a 6 to 7 or a 7 to 8 person for eating. Okay, then go through your recipes and find something that you can prepare, like figure out how long you would need to prepare ahead of time. So if it cooks for an hour, or if you have to prep and cook and that takes 30 minutes, well, maybe if you're new to cooking, maybe just add an extra 30 minutes or an hour to everything, whatever it is. Uh, Go ahead and like set yourself up for success and set those routines in place to prepare dinner ahead of time. That doesn't mean you have to slave in the kitchen for 3 hours before dinner, which is only probably going to make you hungrier. But like find easy recipes, or what you just said, like a YouTube channel or a recipe book that is more beginner based level. And so you can set yourself up for success in that regard and have something in place. I know there's a lot of people that use those like meal prep, or whatever you'd call it, grocery delivery. Because it's not just grocery delivery. I'll take that back. It's like already prepped and they already have the meal like recipes there and everything. And those are great, especially when you're beginning, or maybe like in a really hard time of your life, or a certain really hard season for you, and that might be good. But I would say, especially if your goal is like cooking more often, I would stay away from those things because they tend to be more expensive, obviously. But it can also help you learn how to prep food and prepare mentally for, like, I know I've always been jealous of you, Josiah, and still am, of how you can look in the fridge or look in the pantry and just create something in your mind, and you already like, you don't have to find a recipe based off, which like is totally fine. I just know, like, I wish I could do that. Like, I can a little bit. I've learned from you some over the years, but I know, like, if you what you've taught me is that if you just practice and have that set routine of cooking once a day, twice a day, whatever, like slow beginning starts, you can be better at prepping food, be better at cooking more quickly, and not taking. I remember that one time when I tried to make mashed potatoes, and it said like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or whatever it was to prep and like cook it. And it ended up being like 2.5 hours later, and I was crying and like sitting on the floor of our kitchen. I remember that. But like, I'm glad I did it because now I'll never mess that up again. And like, it really helped me know, like, okay, how do I prep a potato and how long does it take me personally? Like, I think you just have to like get over that mindset. Like, you don't start anything being a pro, like you said. You don't start anything like that. No matter how many YouTube videos you watch, no matter how many books you read, you just have to do it. You just have to start whatever it is. Um, so if your goal is like exercising more, having a better nighttime routine, a plethora of options, right? Starting a business. It doesn't just happen. You have to set a goal, set the SMART acronym goal, and set up those routines to accomplish those said tasks uh, for to attain your goals, and to know that you're not going to be a pro at the beginning. You have to practice. Like any sort of athlete does this. You watch them all the time, especially in pro or Olympic sports or whatnot. I'm sure, I know I liked watching the Olympic swimmers. They would always have their certain routine that they would do ahead of time as they're getting up on the block before they get up on the block, or when they're in that like weird like waiting room thing. They would like the camera would be like up in their face. You're like, okay, that's a little much, cameraman. But they'd be doing something like they'd be listening to music, or some people wouldn't, and they'd be like pacing back and forth, and others would be doing something else. And then like as they're getting ready to get up on the block, they would like stretch a certain way in a certain order, and like fix their goggles or fix their swim cap, and like they'd have like a certain routine in place that mentally prepared them to accomplish what they're about to do. But also, they didn't get there by just doing those routines either. They got there by years of practice worth of whatever like swim stroke they were doing, or whatever sport it ends up being. Like they had years of practice in the same routine, that making that stroke happen and look so easy was based off of so many years of their set goal, of their set practice, of routine. Like it's routine for them to swing their arm that certain way, or to pitch a ball, like if you're playing baseball, pitch a ball at a certain like rate of speed, because they're done it so many times. Like I wouldn't say it's easy. I don't think it's still easy for them, but it's so routine. It's muscle memory. And you got to do that with a lot of other things in life too. So, with that, that's how we think routines and goals go together, and how setting up good routine can help you accomplish your goals, and how setting goals can help you make routines that help you accomplish those goals. Any other thoughts?
No, I think we hit it pretty good. Those are our thoughts and things that we're learning and exploring as entrepreneurs, business owners, working from home, self-employed. A lot of new challenges there for us. And yeah, these are some of the methods we've used to help tackle those challenges and keep moving forward, making our day-to-day lives and our businesses better.
Yeah, I like it. So I will send people to our Instagrams. I think, did you link yours to Stereo?
I think I just did.
Okay, awesome. If you are listening to this later from a different source, our Instagram handles, Josiah's is, you say yours, Josiah.
Bacon Bagel _ AK. AK for
Yeah.
Alaska.
I like it. And then mine is Jelly Bagel _ AK. So check us out there on Instagram. We have a lot of good content, and we like to interact with you all there, especially. We also will post this as a podcast wherever you like to listen to your podcasts, or obviously here on Stereo. It'll be saved. And then we also post on YouTube. We'll post the podcast on YouTube as well. So go check it out either later today, or I guess whenever you're listening to this, you're already listening to it.
Yeah,
but,
if you're looking for our podcast or our YouTube, search Entrepreneur Nagel, and
yes.
You'll find us that way.
So Entrepreneur Nagel, or it should be linked to the Stereo app. But yeah,
Okay.
if you're already listening on a podcast or YouTube, go check us out on Stereo. We would love to hear from you there. You can submit your comments, questions, and listen to us live. And we can like broadcast your audio clips. So that'd be fun to get your questions live. So yeah, thanks for tuning in to episode 12, Like a Boss, talking about routines and goals.
Like a boss. All right.
Okay, see you next Wednesday. Bye.